Katsuki Bakugo and his lackeys trained and sparred with me for many years, and I even taught them all the Hercules method, and I even taught them all how to control their incredible strength with precision and technique without them even knowing it. They had all become the ultimate weapons against evil, and I even taught them all martial arts, and they all became very good friends of mine along with Katsuki Bakugo. And on the final day of training before we all graduated from Aldera Junior High School, I trained and sparred with all my friends from Aldera Junior High School one last time, and I gave them all one final piece of advice. I told them all to use their powers for good and always do the right thing, and if we all do this we will prevail over darkness. Over the years I had trained my friends, but I also met a young girl near my house when I was very young. I caught her eating out of my dumpster when I was just 10 years old, and her name was Himiko Toga, and me and my family became like a second family to Himiko Toga. Over the years one day she started craving blood and she told me to stay away from her, but I already knew what was wrong with her. As her quirk and her body started to mature she started craving blood, and then I said it's okay, I know what's wrong, and then I cut my neck and I said here, drink my blood. And we were both on the school roof of Aldera Junior High School, and I saved Himiko Toga that day without even knowing it. When Himiko Toga drank my blood she began to feel very satisfied, like she didn't need blood for many years, and then right after Himiko Toga drank my blood she stayed with me as my girlfriend, and when I say girlfriend I mean romantic girlfriend. As soon as Himiko Toga and I hit puberty we started having sex, because at age 15 she already had a beautiful sexy body with beautiful sexy curves, so I couldn't resist her at all. So at 12 years old both she and I started having sex, and we are both the same age, so it was all perfectly legal, and she always hung out with me and Katsuki Bakugo with his group of friends, which means I also taught Himiko Toga the Hercules method, and she didn't need knives. Now she could use her hands like knives, and she even started using a special martial arts designed for her quirk. The martial arts is Kendo combined with Silat and Wing Chun, and Himiko Toga calls her martial arts style cutting hand fist. The next day at the end of school the teacher said usually I would give you all these work apprehension tests, but who am I kidding, I know you all want to become heroes, and he said this loudly for everyone to hear, and then he threw all the papers in the air, and like in the original storyline Katsuki Bakugo said, hey teach, don't lump me in with all these other extras because they will be lucky to be sidekicks to some busted D-listers. And then they all got angry, and one of them said, you think you're better than us Katsuki Bakugo? And then he said, I don't think I am, I know I am. And then the teacher said, Katsuki Bakugo, you applied to UA High School and it seems you were accepted into UA High School along with the rest of your friends. And then Katsuki Bakugo smirked and said, I got an A on all mock battle exams and the best heroes in the world went to UA, and that's the only reason why that school is worthy of me. And then one student said that school only has a 1% acceptance rate, and then the teacher said, Izuku Midoriya, you also applied for the entrance exam at UA also, but it's to be expected for someone that has powers like All Might. And then the teacher began to compliment me on my genius level intelligence, and then I said I don't care for boasting or compliments, I only care about results, and you should too teacher. And I have to ask, why is it you give us all such simple studying material that's very basic when we should be studying very advanced things in junior high school? It's very suspicious. And then the teacher said, Izuku, we don't have a lot of money on our school budget and I'm not getting into the details with you. And then I said, well, it's funny you mentioned that because I did my research lately and I found out certain things about this school, and I'm also not getting into the details with you about that right now. And then I smirked like a devil at the teacher, and then the teacher looked terrified and he said moving on, and then he went back to his lecture. And I found out over the years that Aldera Junior High School had been embezzling money for years and donating it to the Yakuza and the Metahuman Liberation Squad or organization or whatever they are calling themselves these days. And I actually have plenty of evidence against Aldera Junior High School to suggest that all the teachers are involved, and they often abducted quirkless children for their cruel experiments, thinking no one missed them, but they were wrong, and I rescued those quirkless children and I saved them from All for One, and I made sure All for One never knew my true identity.